My friend, if you're struggling finding, vetting, training, and managing virtual team members for your real estate business, I have the solution for you. Call Magicians is the premier virtual assistant company in the real estate industry. And basically what they'll do is allow you to focus on closing more deals and doing the things you love while they handle the work for you. Head over to callmagicians.com and see if you're a good fit to work together. And make sure you use the promo code FLIPEMPIRE for a 20% discount off your startup fee. And by the way, the owner's a friend of mine and shares tons of value, gives a lot of useful tips on episode 540. So check it out at flipempire.com/540.
You're listening to Flip Empire, the show committed to helping real estate entrepreneurs who want to build their empire without sacrificing their life. Your success and freedom starts now with your host, Alex Pardo.
What's going on? If you are new to the podcast, my name's Alex Pardo. Got started in real estate in 2005, have done somewhere north of 750, maybe 800 transactions throughout the years. Quite honestly, I just stopped counting a long time ago. But long story short, my bread and butter was always wholesaling. Up until last year, ran a wholesaling operation out of South Florida. And if you've been following along and have been plugged into the Flip Empire show, you know that after careful thought and consideration, I exited that business and to focus on this podcast, to focus on Ascend, some other things I'm doing within real estate. And I decided to get into self-storage. And the reason that is relevant for the purposes of today's episode is because I was recently asked by my good friend, Mike Wagner, who runs an incredible community of storage investors called the Storage Rebellion. I was asked to present. Mike has something called Storage Rebellion University, where people pay a monthly fee to learn about storage and learn how storage can allow them to live the kind of life they want and to really learn the nuts and bolts of storage. And once a month, he has a 2-hour call, and he asked me to present on my business plan, the business plan that I created to land and to secure SBA 7A financing for our 340 unit self-storage facility that we closed on a couple of months ago in Jackson, Mississippi. So what I would like to do is I want to kind of give you the insight. I put together about a 15-20 minute presentation. And I think one of the things that will be really beneficial and helpful to you is that I was able to hear directly from the bank as to why they liked the business plan that I put together. Why was it that it resonated with them? Coming from somebody who has a lot of real estate experience, but who didn't have any storage experience. And when banks are going to lend you 7 figures, more than $1 million, they want to know that you are a strong operator. They want to know that you have a strong business plan. They want to know that that there's certain components you need to have in a business plan to essentially sell yourself. It's not just about the deal. The deal has to make sense, obviously, but you have to sell yourself as the operator, as the owner. And I was able to successfully do that. And, I guess, I don't know how word got out, and Mike reached out to me and asked me to present. So I was super humbled and grateful for that opportunity. I did that a couple of weeks ago and just got a lot of feedback. I really believe it helped a lot of people. And I remember, in fact, I'm going to go ahead, if you happen to be watching this video, I'm going to go ahead and share the PowerPoint presentation. So let me go ahead and do that. And for the purposes of the podcast, I'm just going to kind of talk through this PowerPoint. This is a little bit outside the norm of what I usually do. I usually just like to come on here and riff, but I have a specific PowerPoint presentation that I put together that's called How to Craft Winning Storage Business Plans That Make Banks Want to Throw Money at You. And then my next slide is this funny GIF that my wife sends me. My wife and I, in fact, within a day or two, we're going to be closing on our personal residence. It is a full gut rehab. It's going to take multiple 6 figures to kind of turn this thing around. And she sends me this GIF of I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's like a black and white. It's this little girl. It looks like she's in like the 40s or the 50s, and she just is grabbing piles of cash and she's throwing it out this window. So I have a slide that says, "Who else wants to be on the other side of that window?" And that's exactly what can happen if you understand how to formulate and craft a winning storage business plan. Now, keep in mind that this is specifically catered to the storage business, but a lot of the elements and components, essentially the 4 key pillars that I'm going to share with you on today's podcast, I believe can be applied towards other business plans. So with that being said, just a quick recap. I want to encourage you, if you want more inside detail as to American Mini Storage, the facility that we closed on, I want to encourage you to listen to episode 553 and episode 554, where I get into the details of how I found the deal, the challenges in structuring the deal, you know, how I got how I was essentially able to line up a money partner and I don't have a penny of my own money into this deal, how I was able to secure the financing, and just kind of the ups and downs, the challenges of putting the entire deal together. I really want to encourage you to check out episode 553 and 554. So with that being said, purchase this facility for $1.592 million. Like I said, SBA 7A financing, which required 15% down. It's 42,600 net rentable square feet plus an additional 900 square foot apartment, 340 units plus 17 parking spaces. And what I loved about this deal is that it cash flows from day one. And then value add components, we have the ability to raise rents, decrease expenses, add additional fees. That's one of the things I love about storage, is that there's so many ancillary profit centers. You know, you have lock cut fees, you have late fees, you have auction fees, you have cleaning fees. I mean, there's so many things. And every time you add these fees, it significantly increases the value of the property. And then there's land to build if and when we decide to do that. So we project that the future value of this facility could be anywhere between 2.3 and 2.6 million within a 12 to 24 month period. So with that being said, that's just kind of a quick recap about the facility. But I want to dive into how this business plan was created. But I want to kind of share with you a quick story and give you some context here. So I was presented this opportunity April of 2021. And it wasn't until June 23rd that we finally put ink to paper on this thing. So it took about 2.5 months of going back and forth between my corporate attorney, the seller's attorney, to put this deal together. And part of the reason it was so challenging and this thing wasn't just locked up from the beginning, aside from the fact that I made a critical mistake that could have cost me the deal, is the seller wanted me to purchase the business that owns the facility, because they were going to have close to a 6-figure tax savings if they could find a buyer that could purchase the business which owned the facility. But as a result, that could come with some additional liability. And I wanted to make sure that my I's were dotted and T's were crossed. The mistake that I made is that I should have inked this thing and then worried about dotting I's and crossing T's during my due diligence period. I had a 60-day due diligence period. Instead, I was trying to figure all that stuff out prior to going under contract, and it almost cost me the deal. At one point, you know, after like 4 or 5 iterations and red line versions of this membership interest purchase agreement, the seller had kind of, and their attorney had kind of had enough. I was getting tired. And it wasn't until we got on a conference call, myself, you know, my coach and the wholesaler who presented this deal to me, my attorneys, their attorneys, like it was like 7 or 8 of us on a like a 90-minute conference call. I won't forget, because this was scheduled during an Ascend Mastermind retreat, which I did at lunch. So the 90-minute break we had, I was on a conference call while I was working out, because I was in the middle of 75 hard. So I had a lot going on during that time. And long story short, the day that we got this thing inked was the day that I landed in Greece for a 21-day Greece island hopping trip that my wife had spent over a year planning. And if you guys follow me on Instagram at AlexPardo25 or on Facebook, you probably saw pictures and videos where we were able to just experience and hop around. We went to 6 islands in Greece over a 21 day period. Well, the day that I landed in Greece was the day I got the signed agreement. And I don't know about you, but you know, when I see people kind of posting pictures of them on the beach on their laptop and talking about freedom, that's cool and all. But for me, freedom is being at the beach and not having a laptop, not doing work. And I pride myself in, you know, when I go on travel experiences with my family or vacation, whatever you want to call it, I pride myself on really disconnecting and not doing work. Now, can I sit here with a straight face and tell you, hey, every single trip I go on, I don't do any, like, no, there's times where maybe I'll take a call, something like that. But for the most part, I would say 95% of the time, I'm pretty unplugged. I'm focusing on my family. I'm focusing on trying to be there in the moment. And so I had a conversation with my wife, and I remember we're at the airport. I said, look, finally got this thing locked up. Just know that this is going to require some of my time and energy while I'm here, but not much. Like if I got to wake up super, super early or go to bed super, super late to get it done, I'll make sure that it doesn't, impact just us spending time together as a family. And she's always been super supportive, so no issues there. But I got an email. If you've ever obtained SBA financing, you know that they send you a mile-long checklist of things that have to get done. One of those things is the business plan. So if you if you catch this video on YouTube or somewhere online, there's a picture of, my family and I at the beach on this. There's a picture of us on an infinity pool overlooking the Mediterranean behind us. We were in Pardo, Greece. And there's this Airbnb. We rented this incredible Airbnb that had this pool, and it overlooks the ocean, and just an amazing Airbnb. And there's a little table and kind of like an L-shaped couch next to an outdoor kitchen, which is where I created the business plan. It took me about 15 to 18 hours to put this thing together. I believe ended up being a 38 or a 39 page business plan. And you might be thinking to yourself, that's nuts. Why would you put together almost a 40-page business plan? I wanted to be as thorough as possible. I wanted to convey to the bank that I had my stuff dialed in, that I had thought of every angle. And there's so much that I learned in going through that process. And I want to publicly thank, friends like John Farling, Ben Burkett, Ken Holmes, Brett Abamante. Specifically, those were 4 people that I had some questions for, and I bounced some ideas off of as it relates to this business plan. And that's why, my friends, it's so important that you guys have heard me talk about this in the past, and I'm going to continue to beat the drum on this, is make sure that you're part of high-level communities, masterminds. You have an inner circle. You have a sphere of influence, people that can pour into you, that you can bounce things off of, and vice versa, people that you're pouring into and that you're helping. In fact, I encourage you, if you know me, start with value. Always pour into others. And then if you have questions or if you need something, people are just so much more likely to help you. And by the way, do that not because you're expecting them to help you in the future, but because it's just a cool thing to do and you genuinely want to help people. So with that being said, don't feel too bad for me. While it wasn't ideal that I spent 15 to 17 hours to create this business plan over kind of a 2-3 day period, early morning, late at nights, I had an incredible view while I was doing it. So with that being said, let's hop into kind of these are the 4 key pillars that banks want to see in a storage business plan. And this is what I presented on to the Storage Rebellion community just a few weeks ago. So there's 4 key pillars. First is the management team. Think about this as the About Us section, right? The second is your operations plan and strategy. The third is the marketing plan. And then 4th is your market research. Now, keep in mind that when I was asked to present, I started to put together formulate my thoughts, put together some notes. I looked at my business plan and I thought to myself, what made this a success? Why did this appeal to the bank? And this isn't just a box that a bank wants to check off. They actually go through this in detail. And in fact, I had an interview on a Saturday morning with the bank's underwriting department where they kind of drilled me and asked me a lot of questions about this business plan. And that's part of the SBA process. So when I had a conversation with them prior to this presentation, I asked them, I said, hey, what made this a success? What was it about it that you liked? And these were the things they highlighted. So this is important, valuable information that if you ever find yourself either working towards obtaining an SBA loan or you're needing to put together a business plan for a bank, these are the key pillars that you want to have in there. Management team, operations plan and strategy, the marketing plan, and the market research. Now, as you may see, but there's other things I included in the business plan, but these are the 4 key pillars. As it relates to the management team, they want to know who is committed to the project. In other words, who are the borrowers? Who is signing for the debt? Who is going on the loan? They want to know about you. What's your experience? Who do you have in your network? What are the resources that you bring to the table? Essentially, what is your business resume? And it's interesting. One of the things that they liked is that I included in there that I co-lead and run a mastermind called Ascend, and that I'm also part of a storage mastermind. They really liked that. During my interview, they actually asked me a couple of questions about that. They liked the fact that I have a community of other investors that have experience that I can plug into. So what's your skill set, right? Like, what makes you a good candidate for this loan? Aside from the deal has to make sense. The numbers have to make sense. But what is it about you as an owner, as a management team, and what skill set do you bring to the table? They also want to know what attracted you to the storage business. Do you love storage? Why do you love storage? Essentially, if things get tough, are you going to stick this through, or are you going to kind of like just bail on the project, right? So in summary, when it comes to the management team, you have to sell yourself. And it's interesting. It's funny to me when I have conversations with people and they say, oh, I'm not a salesperson. I don't like sales. Everybody is a salesperson. If you have kids, you know that you're selling them on brushing their teeth. You're selling them on getting to bed early. You're selling them on eating healthy. You're selling them on the values you're trying to instill in them, respecting people, having integrity, helping others. You're selling them on the benefits of XYZ. If you're in business, that goes without saying. You know, you're always selling. You're motivating and selling your team on their KPIs. You're always selling. So don't think you're not a salesperson, but reframe yourself and say, how do I get better at sales? Who do I need to learn from? So essentially, when it comes to the management team, sell yourself. Secondly, operations plan and strategy. Point blank, they want to know that you have a plan. They want to know what's your strategy for rate increases. Who are your customers? You know, and how is your plan to increase rates going to impact them? How, if at all, are you going to tailor your plan around your customers? And then when it comes to CapEx, capital expenditures, right, or property improvements, what needs to be done to the property, and what's your plan for that? How are you going to finance that? One of the cool things about SBA, at least at the time that we got it, is that we were able to get our capital expenditures rolled into the loan. So we outlined, I outlined in the business plan, hey, these are the planned improvements. We plan on replacing the front fence and the gate, put an automatic gate in there. We plan on beefing up security, lighting system. We plan on doing this and that, making some fence repairs around the perimeter. So they wanted to know that you've actually done a thorough analysis of what the property may need from a CapEx perspective. Third, marketing plan. How are you going to retain your existing customers? How are you going to attract new customers? So it's interesting. Out of the 38 or 39 page business plan, I think a dedicated 3 full pages was on the marketing plan, which involves search engine optimization. It involves Google My Business. It involves pay-per-click. It involves other aggregator websites like SpareFoot that will essentially, are always at the top of Google, that will feed you customers. So it involved a pretty, Facebook Marketplace. I mean, there's so many things I included in that marketing plan, and they really liked it. And then last and certainly not least, this is not meant to be the most comprehensive list in the world, but I think these are the 4 main key pillars that banks want to see in a storage business plan. Is your market research. Have you studied your competitors in a 5-mile radius? What's their unit mix, right? In other words, a unit mix, if you're not familiar with the unit mix, it's like the 5x5s, 5x10s, 10x10s. How many of each of those? What are their rates? What's the occupancy? Do you see an opportunity to increase the rates based on the competitors in a 5-mile radius? Have you analyzed non-climate controlled versus climate controlled? So in other words, apples to apples. What's unique about your market, and basically what attracted you to that marketplace? So for example, is there a super Walmart center close to the storage facility? Is Tesla or Amazon or a big business going in and building a plant? So I remember in my particular market, the government sector is pretty big. And that's one of the things I highlighted. I also, there's a big car manufacturing plant there. There's a university, a college that's just a couple of miles away. And many of the tenants are students. I also talked a lot about the fact that we have commercial tenants, and they like to see commercial tenants because they're typically, the commercial tenants typically, like landscapers, et cetera, they usually rent the larger units, 10 by 20s, 10 by 30s. And they tend to be there longer than maybe just somebody like a student, for example, that might be a little bit more seasonal. So anyways, those are the 4 key pillars. If you guys were, if this was a webinar, I'd kind of show you the table of contents, but it starts, it's 13 Roman numerals. It starts with the executive summary, which is basically, hey, here's my company info. Here's the company objective. Here's the company summary, the project summary. And then second, this is the market overview and demographics. Here's the market position. I outlined the property description and the photos. There was about 6 or 7 pages of all the photos of the facility. And then I get into the competition, the management, like I said, the marketing, a full 3 pages on the marketing, my planned improvements, i.e. the CapEx that I talked about, income and expense detail. I had a dedicated couple of pages on the investor returns, the principal, the principal's background, and then the partner's background. And this is where, again, you really want to sell yourself. So hopefully you found this podcast episode valuable for you. And this is one of those that I would encourage you that you probably want to bookmark, because it may not be relevant to you now, but at some point down the line, you may find yourself wanting or needing to create a business plan. And if it's for storage, I just gave you the blueprint. I just gave you the blueprint on what banks want to see. And these, if you can nail these 4 things down, you put yourself in a really, really strong position. Again, I'm somebody that I had 15 plus years of real estate experience, but I didn't have any storage experience. But I was able to sell the deal to secure the financing for this particular self-storage facility. So with that being said, if you come across any self-storage facilities, if you have capital maybe that you want to inject into one of our future projects, let me know. I'm always looking to align myself with the right people. It's got to make sense. I have access, fortunately, grateful, knock on wood, I have access to capital. I have access to work with great people, but I'm interested in strategic alliances, strategic partners, whether it's you bringing me a deal that I can make you a partner on, or that I can pay you a wholesale fee on, whether it's you wanting to be, put debt into the deal, or contribute capital and be an equity partner. There's so many different ways to structure deals. So basically, long story short, I just want to plant this seed with you that if you come across self-storage facilities, think of me, because I think there's a way that we can potentially work together. So you can shoot me an email, alex@flipempire.com. You can find me on Instagram @AlexPardo25, or on Facebook. I'm really not that hard to find. So anyways, if you don't come across any of that, that's fine too. Hopefully this was helpful for you. So I'll continue to plug into the Flip Empire show, and I'm going to continue to pour my heart into this thing. And anyway, that's all I got for you. Enjoy the holidays, enjoy your family, and make sure that you're setting goals. You have a clear action plan. You have a vision for what 2022, what you want it to look like. Have that clarity. Put that focus, energy, and attention on it, and then get to work. Make it happen. I will talk to you soon. Take care. One last thing before you go. If you have been listening to the show for a while, and/or you have been getting value from the show, I would be 100% honored if you would share this show with a friend, or maybe share it with somebody that you think could benefit from this. It's my mission, it's my cause, it's my purpose through Flip Empire to impact and touch people's lives, to help people and in their businesses. So it would be an honor if you would be willing to share this episode. And one last thing, make sure that you're subscribed so that you get notified every Monday and Thursday when shows get released. I look forward to connecting with you on the next one. Until then, have a great day.